Well, hello everybody. So the main purpose of this video is to show you how to get your assets, that is your recipes and your content from your website, which you've all completed by now, I hope. And we're going to get that content onto our computers in a Microsoft Word format so that we can actually then put that into InDesign. Okay, but before I get going on this, I'm just going to show you one example of a fixed layout enhanced ebook. And I've got this up on the screen now running in Apple Books. So your ebooks, when you've finished them, can be shown or used or played or read, if you like, in a number of different ways. But on the Apple computers, we've already got something called Books, which is what I'm running now. So in this example here, you can see this is the very first screen, and hopefully you can hear this audio if I play this button here. I'll just turn it up a little bit. Okay, obviously I'm not going to spend the whole time just listening to this music, but then we can move on to the next page. And you can see here how the content builds up. This is the table of contents, and you can see here we've got the QR code to take us to the website. Then we move to the next page, and as you can see, things build up gradually to make it a little bit more interesting, a bit more compelling. This is the introduction, and then we, however, got some music to go with this page as well, which is on this button here, but I won't play that right now. Then let's just go to the first recipe. So you can see here how it's laid out. We've got spread showing the pictures and the introduction to the recipe. We can click on the pictures to enlarge them, and then when they click, it obviously then goes back to normal. I'll just go to the next page. So this represents then one recipe. So you can see this particular design in this particular layout. We've got two pages, two landscape shape pages for each recipe, and that's how this is organized. I'll just show you the next one just very quickly. So this just represents the idea, what we can actually do with this, how we can make it an interesting layout, and how we can make it more dynamic as it goes through. Anyway, on to the next part then of the video. So I've now come to my Finder, where I've actually got a couple of things. I've got the template. This is the InDesign template that is available to me through Moodle, so you'll actually be able to just download that template. And then the other thing that I've got is I've got a folder. I've just created a folder in my project space. I've made a project space. I'm working on Google Drive, but you can work wherever you want to. But basically, you need to prepare a space ready to gather your materials, ready to start working on InDesign. So this is what I've done. Now, what we need to do is to have a look at our website. So I'm going to my website now. Here's my Greek island recipes, and I'm just going to navigate to my recipe list. I'm just going to go through each recipe. Now, one recipe is enough for this process. I only need to really show you with one recipe, but of course you do need to get all of your recipes. So I'm just going to go to my first one here. This is my recipe, as you can see. And now I'm going to take a copy of this, and the way that I do this, I've got to be using Google Chrome as my browser. That's the only way that it will work. You can't use Safari, you've got to use Google Chrome. Well, I'll show you in a moment why, but it's because of the way that we save the file. Now we just simply go, once we've got the recipe up on the screen, we just simply go to File, and we go to Save Page As. And then we're just looking for the place that we want to save it. So I'm going to my Google Drive. I'm digging into my Google Drive. I'm actually now going to the space that I was before. Let's see, I wish I'd done this earlier so that it would have been easier to locate it. So here we are, Digital Product 2023. And now I'm in my ebook place here, and I'm going to my ebook assets folder. So I'm going to save it into this folder, but what I'm looking for is this down here, web page, or I want to make sure that I'm only choosing the web page single file. This is very, very important. Web page single file is what we need. and we just simply save that in here. Now you'll see in a moment that it's actually put it into my folder. I'm going to go back to my Finder here, and if I now go to my ebook assets, you'll see that I've now got this file called Greek Recipes Moussaka. It's obviously going to be whatever you've called your recipe, .mht. It might be also mhtml, but I don't know, for some reason sometimes it saves it like that, sometimes it saves it like this. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that this file is actually compatible with Microsoft Word. So if I just double click it, it should then open Microsoft Word. And be prepared for a little bit of a delay here, although I'll edit the video. You'll see that there might be an error to do with a missing file, but you don't need to worry about that. That's really not relevant in our case, so just forget about that. I click OK there. And now what we actually get then in Microsoft Word is the actual file itself, and there are one or two things that we need to do. The first thing is we don't need the menu in each case. Obviously we don't need to put the menu into InDesign, so we can actually delete the whole of that section from there down to the title. Just simply delete it. You'll also notice that you've got a few bits of spurious HTML code that we don't need either. So you have to be careful with this, because it actually will, unfortunately, which is really annoying, it will actually just make a link to that, which you don't want. So we just have to delete that there carefully. And that's the way to do it. Just delete that. You don't need to worry about any of the other things, although actually we're going to put that down onto the new line. And then I'll just check. Yeah, there's also one other place. It's not really going to cause you too much problem if you leave those things in there, actually, because we can always get rid of them from InDesign as well. But we don't need the copyright on the bottom of each page either. So now once you've made those quick edits to the Word document, you now need to save it, but you have to save it in a particular form. File, go to File, Save As. And then what we're looking for is down here, we're going to save it in the same location, but what we need to save it as is a Word document .docx. So it's the standard Word file that we're looking for, .docx. Very, very important that you make a note of this. You just save it like that, and then click Save. Okay, now I'm just going to put that away. So now that we've got that one Word document from our recipe, I mean, obviously we are going to have to do all of the other ones, but for the purpose of this video, I really just need to show you one. So what we need to do first of all then is to get the InDesign template. So there's a template called ebook.indt, as you can see, and I've got that from Moodle, so that's available to you. All you need to do is to double click on that. This will open InDesign with a template, as you can see. So it's one empty page. So remember, we're making this fixed layout ebook as a landscape format. So I know that looks like 2 pages, but it's actually just one text box set out in 2 columns. Now, as you could see from the example that I showed you earlier, you're free entirely to lay out this as you like. So this is only really the very beginnings. But the important thing about this particular template is that it already has paragraph and character styles in it, which you can make use of. And now I'm going to show you how we actually place this one Word document into the template. So we're just going to go to File and Place, and then we're looking for the location where we've actually got this. I've already been working on this, so I need to go back to my location. Okay, so as you can see, only that one is available to us. Now, as you can see, I'm showing this in an icon view. If you're viewing it as a list, it's going to look a bit like this. And anything that you can place into InDesign is not grayed out, as you can see. Now, the important thing here is that at the bottom of this page, or bottom of this Finder window, you can see at the bottom what we actually need is to click on, or to tick on, Show Import Options. That's important for this video because I need to explain to you what's going on, but it's also going to be important later on as we add more recipes into our layout. We can untick replace selected item, although it's not particularly relevant because we haven't got anything selected anyway, but untick that. And then select the item that you want to place. And now you'll get this panel here, and I should just explain to you what's going on. It's basically finding that there are some styles that are already in the template that are trying to be overridden by those that are in the Word document. Now what you actually want to do with these conflicts, as you can see down at the bottom, is you want to make sure that it's actually using the InDesign style definition. This is more important for the second and subsequent recipes that you place in, but I would advise you to stick with that. Everything else you just should stay the same, making sure that you're using the typographer's quotes if you're using any quotes in there, and that you're not bringing any breaks in from the document. Now, I mean, obviously, this might be different for some of you, but that's the way it should come up. And if it doesn't come up like that, then make sure you have it selected like that. And then I'm going to click OK. Now, with the text on the cursor like this, you can see that I want to place it into the top left-hand corner of this text frame, but I want to press the Shift key down on the keyboard so that it does build extra pages if it needs to, like this. If we go along here, we can see that it's actually added pages in. So as you can see, we've got the first recipe into the document, but obviously there are a number of things wrong with it. And the first thing that you might want to do is to adjust the image, because it might be that the image actually is far too big. It just depends on the size of the original image. All of the images will be anchored in the text, and you can actually remove that anchoring if you want to move them around a bit, or for example make the picture use the whole of one page or one half of a page. But if you do need to resize it, then remember you want to try to make sure that you don't change the proportions of it by pressing down the Shift and the Command key together as you drag your little squares in the corner. This picture here, for example, as you can see, is far too big. So I'm going to just drag that down and make sure that it just goes to half of a page or half of the size of the spread. Now, the other thing is that you'll see if we have a look over here at the images that I've got in this particular document. If you look over here in the links panel, let me actually just bring that to the center. You'll see that the images themselves are actually embedded. Now, this is actually quite an important feature. When you bring this in from the Word document, the images won't be linked. That is to say, they won't be separately independent. And you will need them to be independent for various reasons, as we'll see a bit later on as we work through this. What we do need to do is to make sure that we can bring them down as the original, or I should say the image that's not actually embedded in the document. And the way that we do this is just to right click over the image in the links panel, right click over it, and then unembed the link. Now, this part of it takes a little bit of concentration. What it's actually asking you to do is it's asking you to say if you want to use the original file that you've got somewhere. Now, I mean, obviously you could do that, but it just takes a little bit more effort and there's no particular reason for it. What you really want to do is to take the image, you want it to take the image out of the document and make it as a separate file. So in other words, you're answering no to this question. Do you want to link to the original file? No is what you're saying. And then what it's doing is it's asking you, where do you want to actually put this? Now, as you can see, once again, it's gone back to my location. And what I want to do is in my ebook assets, where I've got my Word documents, obviously only one at the moment, I want to make a new folder in here. And I'm going to create that, and then I'm going to put the image into there. Now we want to do the second one as well. This time it's a little bit easier because we unembed the link, we say no, and it will automatically put it into that same location that we've just just created. So now you can see the images are no longer embedded, they actually exist as separate files. And all we really need to do now is to spend some time working on our document to do some styling work. Just going to move this out of the way here. That's better. And now one of the things that we want to do is to look at this list. And I'm going to select this list from here down to here. This is my recipe list. And I'm going to go to my paragraph styles. And you can see that actually from Microsoft Word, this is one of the annoying things about Microsoft Word. It does create bulleted lists, but it doesn't really give them a particular reasonable, sensible name for the style. It's just simply an override on the normal style. So what we want to do is, with that selected, use the existing style that's in the template called bull list. Select that and you'll see you get a much better result. Obviously you can still edit this and change the way that looks, because it's your control how you want to make the styles change. And of course, if you want to change the typefaces and so on, for example, if we look at our heading 1, for heading 1 we've got the basic character format is using Calabri. So I've just simply put that into the template, but you want to change that to something different, of course. So let's say you decided you want to change this to, let's say something like, I don't know, maybe Rockwell or something like that. I'm going to go for that. I mean, you might want to increase the size as well, and so on. Okay, so we've turned that into that, and we want to maybe do the second level headings as well. That's heading 2. We might want to do the same thing here and change that to, our Rockwell. Maybe increase the size a bit, change the color. I'm just playing around with this really at the moment, just to give you the heads up on the next aspect of this. So let's just actually give this a different color. I don't know, just change that to something like that. Okay, no problem at all. Now, once you've made these decisions and you've saved that, so I'm going to now save this as within my my location where I'm working. Right, so I'm going to do this in here. I'm going to save this as my Greek recipes. Like so on. Oops. Like so. And now the next thing is, well, it's not the next thing, because obviously I'm going to expect that you're going to work on this. So you're really just focusing on that one recipe. How do you feel about your recipes generally? What do you want to do for each one? How do you want to make them arranged on this spread? You've got basically probably 2 spreads per, or 2 landscape pages per recipe, probably. It could go to 3 if you've got more material. But let's say, for example, 2 spreads like this, or 2 landscape pages. Once you start enlarging pictures and put them in the background, or whatever, however you want to organize this, or add pictures, of course. You might want to add pictures that you haven't got on the website. That's perfectly fine too. Once you've done that and you want to then start adding the other recipes, we then need to add another page, or in this case we don't need to add a page. But if you haven't got an extra page to work with like this, you might want to add that extra page. Now, how do we then go about adding the next recipe? Well, we have to obviously do the same as we did before, save that recipe out. So I'm going to go now to my potato balls, and I'm going to do the same thing for this. So I'm going to save this page as, I'm putting it into this location here, and I'm saving it as a single web page, single file, remember. Save it in there, then go to that location in my Finder, and I'm going to now open this document in Microsoft Word, forgetting about that error message that comes up. Delete these various things here that I don't need. This one here as well we don't need. Oh, I wish it wouldn't do that. It's a bit annoying, because of course it's a link. That's why it's doing it. So it's quite hard to select it without actually jumping onto the link. So let's just put that down there, and then we want to take out the copyright page. I don't think there's anything else we need to do here. And now what we want to do is to save this as a Word document. but we're saving it in a particular format, which is the Word document .docx. Saving it in there. Now the reason for me doing a second one is because what we want to do is to make sure that when we go back into our InDesign document, we actually are going to save this, or I should say place this second one by going to place, find that document that we've just created. Show import options is very important, again, like that. And again, you just got to make sure that you don't have anything, you don't want anything in the Word document that overrides what you've already now done with your layout. So click this here and now place this down in here. And as you can see, the style that we've got is the same as the one that we've created for our first recipe. So I just want to do the same thing as before, make this into a bulleted list. I didn't do it for the first one, but you might want to do it for this at the end as well. So as you can see, this particular recipe, I mean, obviously this isn't necessarily a very good example, but this particular one is actually quite small. It's only taking one spread or one landscape page. And so maybe I'm going to need to do some work on this and find another image to go with it or something like that. So that really is the nub of it. The next video I'm going to actually lay down is really just to explain to you how to add the prelim pages, but we'll come on to that later. The important thing for you is put your recipes in, style them as you like, ready to to work on the next part, which, as I say, would be the prelim pages, table of contents, opening page, etc., etc., etc. Thank you.